and we got the permission to go to Canada. So it turned out that my father was not on the list because of his age. So I came one day with no appointment, 6 o'clock in the morning to Moscow. I was in line to get to the embassy, and I was sitting there until 5 o'clock at the waiting room. And then the 5 o'clock the guard came out and he told me, you have to leave, you don't have an appointment. And I just bravely told him, you can force me to leave, but I will fight. So I was coming to the ambassador office and told him the story and put on the table all our passports with the visas. And they told, you can take them back because we cannot go without our father. And ambassador told me, it's not in my power, but I will see what I can do for you. And he left me in the office and went somewhere to make a phone call to Canada, came back in 20 minutes. It was excruciating minutes for me because I put online all our future. And he smiled, he hugged me, and he told that my father got minister permission to come to Canada. And I really cried on his shoulder. And he told me the first family who are not leaving elderly behind. And since then I knew that Canada would be the right country for us to come.
Nature, what I never kind of experienced before, this rich beauty of nature, what I learned to appreciate, and is actually would be hard for me now to reverse. My other impression was the stores with, so many choices that actually to the point that I spent just looking at the products for hours, and I was thinking, wow, no one is fighting for to get bread or jam or shampoo or toothpaste, or so that this was definitely a shock.
For example, the first Rosh Hashanah, we went to the synagogue, one of the synagogues there, and kind of didn't feel too welcomed. And for us, coming from a very big family, it was a cultural shock to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken for Rosh Hashanah dinner.
Before we came, in Turkey, you don't flaunt your Jewishness. You just keep it quiet. The mezuzah is inside the door. It's not outside. You don't show that you are a Jew. My grandfather, especially, who was traditional, used to go to shul Saturday morning, and right away he used to remove his kippah when he came out the door.
In Turkey, in Spanish, there was a word that we always used, is callades, meaning it is a Spanish word meaning be quiet, as if the walls have ears and the Turks would hear, type of thing. Here, we are freer, to talk about Jewishness, being Jewish.
I was watching a movie, and I saw in the movie that the Jewish tradition of cooking, and how the kosher, and you have to not use the same knife for meat and other stuff. And I remember a flashback that my grandmother was cooking the same way, and she used to have 2 different kitchens, and that was very unusual. I have a menorah. I try to contact with Israel, like order stuff, and I have the David Star, and I have a David Star from my grandma.
Being Jewish, and being Jewish from place where I was growing up, to be in community where people speak Hebrew, they read Hebrew, they know their prayers, they know what to do in shul, they have this whole ritual of Jewish life, and this is one of the most happiest days when I'm actually moments when I go to shul, when I can openly pray, and this is for me, brings me lots of joy.
Well, there were a lot of challenges. I mean, every step was a challenge. You couldn't open a bank account because you didn't have a social security. You can't get to social security very easily, a number. And so there were a lot of small obstacles.
So out of the four of us, I was the only one who learned English first. So I used to get dragged to do translations for immigration, for the house bills, for the pharmacy, for everything. I used to get pulled out of school to go and do translation. Remember, the teacher told my parents not to do that because it was starting to show in my written components that I couldn't do homework, right? And my dad said, well, what choice do I have? We really don't have a choice. So I was still, throughout my whole life, living with my parents. From the time I arrived here, I used to get pulled and do translation in the fall with Bell Canada or Bill Collector, everything.
Things didn't get better for...
It took a while. It took, I think,
years.
until we put Laurie into nursery school, where we started meeting other people and then started connecting with people, making friends, building up a social network.
It was at least 3 years.
Yeah,
before.
but we did have people that helped us get through the initial stages of immigration. But just going into a supermarket and thinking, I wish I knew somebody here.
But when we came to Hamilton, we didn't know anyone yet.
It's very vulnerable time in your life when you don't have family, you don't have friends, you feel completely alone in the world with two little kids.
Well, I'd say a good 5 years.
At least 5 years.
Yeah, a good 5 years to sort of feel like we kind of belonged. We'd settled and this was our home now, and that was it. And our kids were starting to integrate into the Canadian life, and that was good to see. And it's lucky we came when our kids were young. I think that definitely helps integrate you into a new country, is that the connection through the kids. I think when you're older, it's harder.
So our first year here, there were many times when we were talking about going back.
It's hard because it's a new culture.
Financially, it was very, very difficult.
And it was lonely. You had no support, right? So you think it's easier going back, but luckily we didn't, because Canada's now our home.
I feel safe here and free to practice what I believe and to practice what's my origin without fear.
Our son calls us every time when it's Canada Day. He says, thank you so much for bringing me here. I would never become what I am if we had lived in Russia. So he appreciates it very, very much. And Canada Day is our big celebration because we're really happy that we are here. We are happy for our children's achievements because, of course, our son would not become what he is here if he had left, had been living in Russia.
We really love Canada. And you know why? Because we can compare what we had in Russia and what we have in Canada. And the feel of the community, Jewish community, is a new, it adds more even. And we were so happy to be here. We love it and we cherish it.